Richard Russo was one of America's most versatile literary men, a best-selling novelist who also has turned some of his books, like the Pulitzer Prize-winning Empire Falls, into screenplays that have been successful movies. He came to the Times building recently, and we talked about his new novel, That Old Cape Magic, and also about the impact writing screenplays and being a teacher has had on his fiction.
For me, when I was teaching, especially the beginners, when I was teaching them about how to develop characters, and I was teaching them about the nature of conflict, what kind of conflicts work, and how to recognize a conflict that's not working. You can't do that day in, day out with beginners without saying to yourself, all right, now, here I am 350 pages into a novel. Have I blocked out? Have I? You can't go over the basics with beginners without thinking to yourself, what about the basics of this work that I'm presently embarked upon? Screenwriting, strangely enough, the knock on screenwriting often is that when a novelist starts writing screenplays, that the novels themselves become more like screenplays. They become more spare, they become more rooted in the present, less time is spent describing the real physical world, that less time is spent on what characters are thinking, because these are things that movies don't do very well.
Right, because the camera does.
The camera, or the camera does them, and the writer doesn't have to. And so a writer, an expansive writer like, say, Richard Russo, writes screenplays, and suddenly the books become more screenplay-like. There's more white space. There's maybe less density to it. The exact opposite thing has happened to me. Every time I write a screenplay and come back to writing my novels become even more dense. They become more interior, because it's like you're building something and you're only allowed to use a hammer and a saw, and then you go back to the novel and you can open up this great big toolbox and you say, look at those crescent wrenches. Oh my God, aren't they beautiful? I can't wait to use the crescent wrench again. And so my novels have become even more novel-like, I think, since I started writing screenplays.
You're a major novelist. You've taught fiction. Who are some of the novelists you look to for inspiration?
Are we talking about living or dead?
Either.
Either? Well, the people that made me the kind of writer that I am are not only dead but long dead. Dickens for his great big canvases, the importance of minor characters. Twain for just how important comedy was if you want to go to dark places. If you want to talk about, as Twain did, racism and ignorance and violence, parts of the American character that we kind of don't want to admit to. Steinbeck for tone. I remember there was just a revelation when I was reading Cannery Row, and he had a line in it, Dora Flood was a great woman. A great big woman with a taste for Nile green evening dresses. And I thought, okay, I understand tone now. I understand where the writer stands in relationship to the sentence that just came out. He's there. He's hiding in that sentence somewhere. It's his attitude, and it makes us feel comfortable that we know who we're talking to.
And are these some authors you then taught your students or had them read?
Oh, you bet. You bet.
And do you get to know them better as you're reading them with your students? Do you then see new layers and depth?
There's nothing I think that helps a writer to appreciate a writer, even the writer that he already loves, is teaching that writer to students. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Richard Russo.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.